It is roughly 2,700 years ago, and you are standing on a wooden ship somewhere in the Mediterranean. No phone, no street signs, no calm voice saying, "Recalculating." The coastline has disappeared behind you, the sea looks identical in every direction, and getting lost does not mean arriving 10 minutes late. It means never arriving at all. Yet merchants, sailors, soldiers, and messengers crossed enormous distances long before GPS. So how did ancient humans find their way without maps? First, one correction. Ancient people did make maps. The Babylonian map of the world was composed no earlier than the 9th century BCE, but most travelers could not carry a detailed, standardized guide to every route. Their real navigation system lived in memory, trained observation, and the landscape itself. Start with the ancient Greeks, history's most dramatic island hoppers, who somehow turned every difficult voyage into a family argument involving at least one offended god. In Book 5 of Homer's Odyssey, composed around the late 8th or early 7th century BCE, Odysseus watches the Pleiades, late-setting Boötes, and the bear, which he is told to keep on his left. It was poetry, not a surviving sailor's manual, but the passage preserved navigational knowledge its audience could recognize. Sailors used stars to maintain a rough direction at night, then checked coastlines, island shapes, mountain peaks, winds, and the position of the sun during the day. Homer was basically the ancient world's travel blogger. Beautiful descriptions, useful landmarks, and far too many monsters between you and the destination. This knowledge also created status. An experienced pilot did not simply hold the steering oar. He carried an invisible route inside his head, and everyone aboard depended on him. Could one cloudy night erase almost every clue they had? Yes. Yes, it could, but stars had one obvious weakness: clouds. That takes us to Song Dynasty China, where navigation began looking less like heroic poetry and more like an engineering department that had finally received funding. In 1088 CE, the scholar Shen described a magnetized needle and magnetic declination in his Dream Pool essays. Declination is the annoying fact that magnetic north and true north are not exactly the same, which Shen noticed centuries before most people had a reason to complain about their phone compass. Chinese navigators did not throw away their older skills. They still watched the sun and stars, recognized coastlines, estimated travel time, tested water depth, and memorized sailing instructions. The magnetic needle added one crucial advantage: direction could still be estimated when clouds hid the sky. Practical, portable, potentially life-saving. A route could now become a sequence of instructions. Hold a direction for several watches, search for a named mountain or island, then adjust course. The compass did not replace the navigator. It made a trained navigator harder to fool. And then one civilization solved navigation without depending mainly on either stars or compasses. The Inca faced mountains, deserts, valleys, rivers, and high passes that seemed designed by nature to make travel personally insulting. Their answer was the Qhapaq Ñan, a road system covering more than 30,000 kilometers and reaching its maximum expansion in the 15th century. 4 main routes began at the central square of Cusco, while smaller roads connected settlements, farms, storage sites, and religious centers across the Andes. Instead of carrying a map, an official traveler could follow a route physically built into the landscape. Stone paving, stairs, retaining walls, drainage channels, bridges. Every part changed according to the terrain. Chaski messengers carried spoken information, small packages, and kippas through a relay system. At stations called chaski, positioned roughly 10 to 15 kilometers apart, one runner passed the message to the next. The result was not just transportation, it was an information network. The road told travelers where to go, while stations, officials, and communities kept the route working. Inca navigation was therefore political as well as practical. Every maintained path reminded distant regions that they belonged to the same empire. Here is the modern contrast. The GPS constellation did not reach full operational capability until April 1995. Humans had already crossed oceans, deserts, and mountain empires for thousands of years before a satellite could place a blue dot on a screen. Zoom out, and ancient navigation looks less primitive than deeply intelligent. Greek sailors read patterns in the sky. Chinese navigators combined natural signs with magnetic technology. Inca engineers transformed geography into a physical information system. None of these methods offered perfect certainty. They worked because knowledge was observed, tested, remembered, and passed from expert to apprentice, parent to child, and messenger to messenger. Humans did not conquer distance because one genius invented direction. They did it by sharing memory and learning to notice details that modern travelers barely see. So the next time your phone loses signal and civilization appears to collapse, look up and look around. The world was giving directions long before your screen started doing it.